Hey Shreveport Owls! Today we will be reviewing how to summarize a text, something that we've already been working on in 5th grade. Alright, so summarizing. What is it? It is retelling a story, ... The definition of summarizing, there's a few really important keywords. So it's not just retelling a story, it is retelling a story in your own words, okay? So summarizing, retelling a story in your own words. All right, awesome. We're going to review 5 different sentence starters for you on how you can summarize a story that you've read. The first one we're going to take a look at is somebody. All right, so you're like, somebody. The question you're going to ask yourself is, who is the main character in my story? Step number 1 for summarizing, you're going to ask yourself, who is the main character in my story? So somebody, ... Then you're going to go to wanted. So somebody wanted, and you're going to ask yourself, what did the character want and why? Why did my character go about doing this, okay? So when you get to wanted, you're going to ask yourself a second question. You're going to ask yourself, what did the character want? And you're also going to include why. Why did they want that? Okay? So somebody wanted something. Then you're going to get to but. When you get to but, you're going to ask yourself this question. You're going to say, well, what was the problem? What problem was your main character facing? What was the problem? So somebody wanted something, but there was a problem. Then you're going to go on to your so. This is where you're going to ask yourself, how did the main character try and solve the problem? Okay? So how did the character try and solve the problem? What did they do? Did they ask their friends? Did they ask their parents? How did they try and solve the problem that they found themselves in? Okay? So first we have, when we're summarizing a text, when we're retelling a story in our own words, we're going to start with the sentence starter, somebody. You're going to say somebody, and that is whoever the main character is. So you're asking yourself, who is the main character? Then your next sentence is going to start with wanted. You're going to answer the question, what did the character want and why did they want it? Your third sentence is going to start with but. What was the problem? That's the question you're answering with your word, but. Then you're going to move on to your sentence starter, so. And you're answering the question, how did the character try and solve the problem? And last, you're going to use the sentence starter, then. You're going to wrap it all up into a nice neat bow. When you're on your sentence then, you're answering the question, what was the resolution? Resolution is a word that we used a lot in our fantasy writing. Do you guys remember what it means? The resolution of a story is the end of a story. How does it all work out in the end, okay? So these are your 5 sentence starters and your 5 questions that you are going to ask yourself when you're summarizing a story or when you're retelling a story using your own words. Another way to chunk this up, you can chunk the story up into the beginning, middle, and end. You might answer the question, who is the main character in my story? And what do the character want and why at the beginning of your story? So look for those 2 questions or those 2 facts at the beginning of your story, okay? At the beginning. Then, in the middle of your story, you might answer the next 2 questions. What did the character want? And what was the problem? And how did the character try and solve that problem? Those you might find in the middle of your story. And last, you're going to answer that last question. What was the resolution? What was the end? How did it all come together? How did my story get all wrapped up into a nice, neat little bow? All right, so you have your beginning, middle, end, your 5 sentence starters on how to retell a story using your own words by answering these questions. Let's go ahead and take a look at an example. Okay. For this example, we will be using the story. I know it's a little hard to see. The 3 Little Pigs. If you need help remembering the story of the 3 Little Pigs, in the description underneath this video, you can find a link to the 3 Little Pigs story. What we are going to do is we are going to summarize the 3 Little Pigs using our somebody, wanted, but, so, when. Our who, what do they want, why, what happened, how did they figure it out, and how did it end, okay? So we're thinking about the 3 Little Pigs. Who are the main characters in the 3 Little Pigs? Right, the 3 pigs. So our somebody are the 3 pigs. Okay? You can see right now, I'm just bulleting my answers. I'm just writing it down in my own words so at the end, I can summarize it all together in a nice paragraph form. So we have somebody, the 3 pigs, wanted something. What did they want? What did the 3 pigs want in that story? Right, they wanted to build homes. They wanted to build their own homes. Okay, so they wanted to build homes. But something happens. Does anybody know what happens? Right, the wolf comes down and he blows the first 2 houses away. All right, so that's our problem, that the wolf is coming and he's blowing down all these houses. So our problem, the wolf blew down the first 2 houses, right? The first pig and the second pig, their houses made of hay and sticks, they got blown away. So that's the problem. Then we get to our so. We want to figure out how are we going to solve this problem. So the 3rd little pig, he does something that solves this problem of the wolf blowing down his house. He doesn't make his house out of clay or out of hay or sticks. He makes his house out of brick. So we can say the 3rd pig makes his house of brick. All right, so we have our main character or characters, what they wanted, what the problem is, and how they're solving that problem. Then we need to wrap it up nice and tight. We have our then at the end of our story. Then, what happens? Could the wolf blow down the third pig's house? No, because the pig solved the problem. So then, the wolf couldn't blow the house down, and the pig lived happily ever after. All right? So we're going to put this story into paragraph form. It's going to look a little something like this. We're going to use these 5 keywords to construct our paragraph, making sure that we still have that topic sentence, details, and concluding sentence, but we don't want to have too much detail. A summary is supposed to be really quick, really nice and concise, and really super tight, okay? But we're going to start with somebody. That's our pigs. So the 3 pigs, and we can combine that with what they wanted in one sentence. So we can say 3 pigs wanted, so there's one of our keywords, to build houses. So we have our who and our what they wanted. But now we have to talk about our problem. But the wolf blew down 2 of them. So, but the wolf blew down the first 2 houses that the pigs made. So now we have to figure out how we're solving that problem, how the pigs solve that problem. So the 3rd pig makes his house out of brick, so the wolf can't blow it down. So we have our but, and now we're on our so. So the 3rd pig makes his house of brick, right? That's solving his problem. Then, at the end of our story, the wolf couldn't blow his house down, and the pig lives happily ever after. And we can still use that keyword, then. Then, the wolf couldn't blow the brick house down. All right? So there you have it. A nice short summary of the 3 little pigs using our somebody wanted, but so then. What you're going to do now is go on to Edpuzzle, and you're going to read a story called A Bad Case of Stripes, and you're going to use the same sequence to create a summary of A Bad Case of Stripes. If you have any questions, please ask me or your teacher, or you can go online and watch this video again and take a look at our anchor charts, okay? Just make sure when we're retelling a story and we're summarizing a story, we have to use our own words. All right? Let us know if you have any questions. See you soon.